The current results would essentially be the Democrats at 227 House seats. Republicans would be at 208, based on the current generic ballot numbers for the Real Clear Politics polling average for 2026. Now, it's important to note, obviously, we're in August of 2026. We don't know what the generic ballot's going to be looking like come November of 2026, if the polls are even correct, if everything translates, how the country is doing, how the economy is doing, how President Trump and the Republicans are viewed. These are very wild questions that are left up for grabs. But right now, based on the current generic ballot numbers, the Democrats are on track to win the House for, I believe, the first time since not that long ago, actually. I think they had it in 2020 and the Republicans won it back in 2022. So it hasn't been that long, but if the Democrats do this, they win back the House, they get 227 House seats, Republicans get 208. And this is why Republicans are having the conversation about redistricting in a lot of states, because they know the writing on the wall right now is based on the current House map. Republicans are probably not going to hold a majority if everything goes the way the current polling suggests that it will. So first we'll look at the state of Ohio, as this is one of the first states that was mentioned. Ohio, at very least, if Republicans redistrict, they're hoping to get more House seats out of the 1st District, out of the 9th and the 13th, flipping to the Republican side. The Republicans could try and gerrymander around Ohio 3 and Ohio 11 and get these areas, but I think they end up staying on the Democratic side. But either way, that gets the Democrats down 3 seats, 224. Republicans are at 211. So that cuts into the Democrats' margin a little bit. Now, Republicans and President Trump specifically have also made a note about the state of Florida. Florida, Ron DeSantis has teased potential redistricting as well and trying to get some seats out of Florida, maybe trying to net an extra 5 or so seats in Florida. The first targets I think Republicans would seek to eliminate are probably the 9th District in Florida 9 with Darren Soto, and definitely Jared Moskowitz's district in Florida 23. Now, those two would be probably the most likely Republican targets. Republicans could try and go after some of these more solid Democratic seats, but again, that would be probably very tough and may put some other Republicans potentially in danger of losing. But what if Republicans net 2 out of Florida just on that alone? Well, that gets the Republicans to 213, Democrats are at 222. Now we go to the state of Texas. Texas has been getting a lot of talk, and they've been really reigniting the conversations of redistricting. 2 Republican targets right away are Texas 34 with Vicente Gonzalez and Texas 28 with Henry Cuellar. Those are some seats the Republicans certainly want to target. Now, that's only 2 seats right there, but they do make a very significant impact. Republicans say they want to try and get an extra 5 House seats out of the state of Texas. It's going to be very tough to do, though, as the Dallas area is all pretty strong Democratic. The Houston area is also very strong Democratic as well. And Central Texas around Austin is also very Democratic. So Republicans could try and get those, but I feel like that's going to be very tough. You would need a really radical gerrymander in that regard to do that. But even if the Republicans do that, they get Ohio, Texas, and Florida at a very conservative estimate. That gets them closer, but Democrats still hold the majority at 220. Republicans are at 215. But the Republicans are also targeting, potentially, the state of Missouri, where the Democrats currently hold 2 House districts in the 5th and the 1st District. Maybe the Republicans try and redistrict and gerrymander these seats and get rid of these 2 Democratic wins. Well, if they could do that, that would get the Democrats at 218, Republicans at 217. So with a very big redistricting in Missouri and pretty considerable redistricting in Texas, Florida, and Ohio, that would get it within a 1-seat House majority for the Democrats based on the current generic ballot polling for 2026, which essentially means if the generic ballot ends up underestimating the Democrats or being lower for the Democrats than it is right now, the Republicans may be able to hold the House by 1 or 2 seats if the gerrymandering goes 100% their way. Now, that is a big if, because the Republicans aren't going to just redistrict all these maps, and the Democrats aren't just going to have anything to say about it. As I mentioned, California Governor Gavin Newsom has threatened to redistrict his map as well to try and stop the Republicans from doing it in Texas and in Ohio. Now, what could that look like? Well, immediately 2 districts come to mind that are very competitive, and the 22nd with David Valadao, and 41 with Ken Calvert, and another one, California 40 with Young Kim. If the Democrats redistrict here and they can draw out these seats, that would get California and the Democrats back up to 221 to the Republicans 214. Now, could Democrats try and radically redraw and get California's 3rd district as well. But just sticking with that right now, that would get the Democrats up another handful of seats. Democratic Governor Kathy Hochul in New York has also expressed interest in trying to redraw the map and gerrymander the map to combat the Republicans here. And New York could have some very considerable gains here. First one I'm watching is Mike Lawler's district in New York 17. That's already a top target for the Democrats. I'm sure Democrats would love to try and redistrict that one out. Maybe New York 1 with Nicholas LaLauda could potentially be a target as well. That one's a little bit more of a stretch than New York 17 is, but maybe Democrats are able to draw that one out as well. That would get Democrats up to 223, Republicans 212. And the state of Maryland, there's only one Republican House seat in the 1st district. If the map is drawn in a certain way, it is possible Democrats could get that seat as well. So even if Republicans redistrict and gerrymander the maps in Texas, in Ohio, in Florida, and in Missouri, and that gets them within getting close to the majority, the Democrats, if they can get the legal process to play out, could come back and also gerrymander in California, in New York, and in I'm totally blanking. I'm sorry, California, New York, and Maryland. That could give the Democrats an extra few seats and essentially negate the changes made by the Republicans. So this is all a very fascinating conversation. We'll have to wait and see what actually happens. Ohio and Texas, I do believe, have laws in the books that do allow for a mid-decade redistrict, whereas California and New York, I don't believe do. The governors would have to call for a special section of the legislature to do that, and I'm not sure if the state Supreme Courts would step in and allow this or not allow this, but this is all a very big conversation happening in political circles, this topic of redistricting, and putting it bluntly, if you're not 100% like kept up with all the politics and elections, it probably seems like a very convoluted and confusing mess. And I've been trying to keep up with it as much as possible, and even I think it's kind of a bit of a confusing mess. So we'll have to wait and see how it all goes. As any news breaks on these maps and such, I will, of course, be doing videos and trying to keep you updated as much as possible. But there's real potential here that the redistricting process, if there is any, come 2026, to get really complicated and really messy. At the core fundamental levels of it, based on the 2024 U.S. House map, assuming nothing changes, and the current generic ballot numbers right now, I would say it's more likely than not the Democrats win back the House come 2026, keeping on track the way parties not in charge usually do in the midterm elections, especially factoring in it will be the midterm election in the president's 2nd term. Then usually the off-year party does very well, like Republicans did in 2014. In that midterm, like Democrats did in 2006, the off party usually does very well in the president's 2nd midterm. So from that standpoint alone, the Democrats should probably win back the House. Even if it's only by like 3 or 4 seats, the Democrats should have enough to win back the House. But if the Democrats don't gerrymander or redistrict their maps at all, and the Republicans are able to redistrict and gerrymander in Texas, Ohio, Florida, and maybe Missouri, the Republicans may have a very narrow path in doing that point where they'd be essentially changing around 10 to 15 House seats. They would then have a credible path to potentially holding on to the House majority. But again, if the Republicans did that, I don't think the Democrats would just let that happen without trying to redistrict their own maps to try and stop the Republicans from getting the majority that way. So it's all a convoluted mess. There's going to be a lot of legal questions and probably states and state parties suing each other over whether or not this is allowed, whether this is constitutional. And to be completely honest with you, I really don't know how this is all going to play out, which states can do it, which states can't, if any can do it or any can't. We'll have to wait and see how this all goes. It's going to be a very messy process. But as of today, I think the Democrats are more likely than not going to keep the House if no redistricting happens. If redistricting happens, everything's kind of out the window, and we have to wait and see how the new maps are redrawn, because that could have a very drastic impact on which party holds the House come 2026. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it informative. If you did, make sure to leave a comment below telling me what you think of this video and who you think is going to win the House come 2026 and what your thoughts are on the redistricting and how that could all go come 2026. Also, if you have anything I talked about in this video that you're confused on, you have any questions, you want more clarity from me, or if you have anything you want to add to anything I've said in this video, please feel free to leave it down below. I always check out the comments, so certainly I'll be reading everything you leave down there. Also, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit like and subscribe, as I post 3 new videos every day that you're not going to want to miss. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video.